1978, Public Image Limited released their debut album. Consisting of 8 tracks, Public Image First Issue, which featured former Sex Pistols vocalist John Lydon, also known as Johnny Rotten, received its fair share of controversy, but ultimately was a success for Public Image, who are generally regarded as pioneers of the post-punk genre. In an interview in 1978, Lydon spoke about the debut album and had this to say about the 4th track, entitled Anneliese. It's about these silly fucking parents of this girl who believed she was possessed by the devil, so they starved her to death. In this episode, we look at the inspiration not only behind this song, but also behind the 2005 supernatural horror, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, both of which are based on the same true story that in 1978 would make headlines throughout the world. On the 21st of September 1952, Joseph and Anna Michel welcomed their daughter into the world. Her name was Anneliese. The early years for Anneliese were somewhat difficult. She was born into a strict Catholic family, suffered bullying in school, and was prone to illness, leaving her as a weak child compared to others her age. However, as she grew into her early teens and started high school, she became healthier, happier, and would do well with her studies. But when Anneliese turned 16, all that would change. In September of 1968, Anneliese suffered her first seizures. During school, it was reported that Anneliese blacked out for a moment, and while she remained conscious, she had no idea what had happened. At the time, her friends described the situation as a trance-like state, but were unaware that Anneliese had potentially suffered a petit mal seizure, also known as an absence seizure. And a year later, Anneliese would suffer her second series of seizures, and at this point, her parents decided they would seek medical advice to get to the root cause. A series of tests were conducted by neurologist Dr. Siegfried Luffy, who concluded that whilst there were no abnormalities on the EEG conducted on Anneliese, she was clearly suffering from tonic-clonic seizures, and as a result, Anneliese was diagnosed with epilepsy. The following year was another difficult year for Anneliese. In late 1969, she had her tonsils removed, and due to her susceptibility to disease, she fell ill with pleurisy, pneumonia, and suffered issues resulting from an infection of tuberculosis. And as a result, she was transferred to a sanatorium, specialising in lung and bronchial conditions. Shortly after this, it was also discovered Anneliese was suffering from a heart problem and circulatory issues. Her stay in the sanatorium led Anneliese to miss schooling, and as a result, she started to become depressed and withdrawn. And it was around this time, and in the preceding years, having suffered several more seizures, Anneliese was prescribed Zentropil, an anti-convulsion medication, Alept, used in the treatment of certain psychoses, and Tegretol, another anti-seizure medication and also mood stabiliser. Despite her illness and declining mental health, Anneliese was able to complete her schooling and went on to study at the University of Würzburg in 1973. And in the same year, Anneliese would also spend time at the Mittelberg Clinic after her behaviour had become more erratic, violent at times, and she had begun to show an intense aversion to religious symbolism and locations during a trip to San Damiano organised by a family friend and fellow parishioner, Thea Hein. During her stay at the clinic, Anneliese would confide in Dr. Luffy that she felt that she was being haunted by Fratzen or grimaces.
She said that she often saw Fratzen and that the devil was in her. She further asserted that a judgment of fire would be visited on everyone. She could not get her mind off these things. She had no power of decision, and everything was empty in her.
Following this consultation with Dr. Luffy, Anneliese's mother Anna claimed that he'd recommended they seek religious help, a claim later denied by Dr. Luffy. But despite this, the Michel family, with the help of Frau Hein, sought the expertise of various clergymen before finally meeting Father Ernst Alt. Father Alt had already been made aware of the situation through Frau Hein, who had contacted him to discuss Anneliese's condition, and he soon decided to meet with the family.
Anneliese told me, and Frau Hein confirmed this, that she was unable to enter the shrine. She approached it with the greatest hesitation, then said that the soil burned like fire, and she simply could not stand it. She then walked around the shrine in a wide arc and tried to approach it from the back. She looked at the people who were kneeling in the area surrounding the little garden, and it seemed to her that while praying, they were gnashing their teeth. She got as far as the edge of the little garden, and then she had to turn back. Coming from the front again, she had to avert her glance from the picture of Christ in the chapel of the house. She made it several times to the garden, but could not get past it. She also noted that she could no longer look at medals or pictures of saints. They sparkled so immensely that she could not stand it.
Father Alt stated upon first meeting Anneliese that she didn't appear epileptic, did not have any seizures whilst in his presence, and that he believed she was suffering from demonic possession. As a result, Father Alt petitioned Bishop Joseph Stangl for permission to carry out an exorcism on Anneliese. And after a further consultation, Bishop Stangl granted permission for the exorcism to take place, which was to be conducted by Father Arnold Renz with Father Alt's assistance under strict secrecy. On the 24th of September 1975, just 3 days after her 23rd birthday, Anneliese endured what would be the first of 67 gruelling exorcisms, all of which were recorded on audio tape by Anneliese's parents. Over the next 10 months, Lucifer, the disciple Judas Iscariot, Roman Emperor Nero, Cain, Adolf Hitler, and Valentin Fleischmann, a disgraced 16th century Catholic priest, would all make themselves known. On October the 13th, 1975, Anneliese stated she'd been visited by the Virgin Mary, and in the next few days she claimed Mary had told her she would be free of the demons on October the 31st. When the day came, the priests noted that the demons appeared more subdued, and during the exorcism they reported they had finally left Anneliese's body, freeing her of her possession. However, this victory was short-lived, as a demon who had not previously made themselves known refused to leave Anneliese's body, and as a result, only minutes after leaving, the other demons returned. Over the next few months, despite still supposedly possessed, Anneliese's condition appeared to improve, and as a result she was able to continue some of her studies, and for the most part her classmates were unaware of her alleged possession and the exorcisms she was enduring at home. And over these months, the Virgin Mary continued to visit Anneliese, eventually informing her that she would soon die, but she would be free of the demons before she passes, and that the following months would be the worst Anneliese would suffer. The prediction came true, and Anneliese endured 2 horrific months, and the exorcisms, each lasting anywhere from 1 hour up to 4 hours, continued. Convinced that the priest would be successful, her parents would also eventually cease providing Anneliese with her prescribed medication, allegedly on her request, resulting in a rapid decline of Anneliese's mental and physical health. On the 30th of June 1976, suffering from pneumonia and barely able to stand, having damaged her knees, Anneliese would endure her final exorcism, during which she begged the priests for absolution and told her mother that she was scared. Soon after midnight on the 1st of July, as Anneliese had previously predicted several months prior, she fell asleep and passed away. It was reported that Anneliese had weighed only 30 kilograms, and the official cause of her death was listed as malnutrition and dehydration. Her death was reported, and immediately an investigation into the exorcisms and circumstances surrounding her death were conducted. And in 1978, both Joseph and Anneliese Michel, along with Father Alt and Father Renz, were formally charged with negligent homicide due to the fact they had not sought correct medical assistance for Anneliese, who may have survived had she received the correct medical and mental health treatment. Anna and Joseph were assisted with legal costs by the church and were appointed as their defence Erich Schmidt-Leichner, who had made a name for himself during the Nuremberg trials. During the trial, audio tapes of the exorcisms were played, and various religious and medical experts were brought in to argue both for and against the actions taken by the defendants. And Bishop Stangl, who had granted permission for the exorcisms to take place, would insist he was not aware of Anneliese's alarming mental and physical condition. Ultimately, all 4 were convicted of manslaughter and were sentenced to a 6-month suspended sentence and 3 years probation. In February of 1978, shortly before the trial, Anneliese's body was exhumed by her parents. The official reason given for the exhumation was that Joseph and Anna wished to give Anneliese a more proper burial in a better quality coffin. However, a nun had contacted them prior to the exhumation, claiming to have seen Anneliese's body in a dream, and it had remained incorrupt and appeared as she would have been the day she had died. If this was true, they believed it would confirm she had been possessed. However, when the coffin was opened, her body had decomposed at the expected rate. Anneliese was again laid to rest in Klingenberg Cemetery, where her body remains, and her grave now acts as an unofficial pilgrimage for both Catholics and paranormal enthusiasts to this day. As a result of the trial and controversy that the Catholic Church would face, officially sanctioned exorcisms in Germany dropped dramatically, and 20 years later, in 1999, Pope John Paul II would change the rules regarding exorcism, allowing them to only be performed in very rare cases. But this was of course too little, too late for Anneliese Michel.